So this is my Othello analysis, and first up is the summary. So Othello, a general in the Venetian army, promoted Cassio to the position of lieutenant instead of Iago. Bitter at this, Iago teams up with Roderigo to seek revenge on Othello. They both tell Brabantio, the father of Othello's new bride Desdemona, that Othello married his daughter by exploiting the racism of society. A tense confrontation ensues, but the Duke permits their relationship and sends Othello and Desdemona to Cyprus on a military expedition. Once in Cyprus, Iago manipulates Cassio into misbehaving, which results in Othello stripping him of his title. Next, Iago plots to make Othello believe that his wife is unfaithful through a complex web of deception. With the help of Desdemona's handkerchief, given to her as a gift by Othello, planted in Cassio's room, Othello falls for Iago's trickery and soon determines to kill Desdemona for her betrayal. Although she vowed that she did nothing wrong, Desdemona is murdered by Othello and, even as she was dying, stayed faithful to Othello by proclaiming him innocent of her death. Emilia, Iago's wife, discovers that the whole predicament was crafted by Iago, and Iago is captured, but not before killing Emilia. In the end, Othello is consumed with his own guilt and commits suicide. Next is irony. So in Act 1, Scene 3, Iago says, after some time, to abuse Othello's ear that he is too familiar with his wife. And in Act 2, Scene 3, Othello says, Iago is most honest. So, in this case, dramatic irony is utilized to clue the reader into the manipulations of Iago. Through Iago's use of soliloquies and asides, the audience learns of Iago's plot to deceive Othello. With this knowledge, the audience is able to analyze Iago's actions in context with his motives and plans. While none of the other characters know that they are being manipulated, the audience is aware of Iago's continuous control of others, which adds to the humor of the situation. As well, the audience understands that Desdemona is innocent while Othello does not because of the circumstances that Iago created. This irony keeps the audience invested in the story and increases the suspense. Next is symbolism. So in Act 3, Scene 3, Emilia says, "What handkerchief? Why, that the Moor first gave to steal to Desdemona, that which so often you did bid me steal." So the handkerchief symbolizes the love and marriage of Othello and Desdemona. Because it was a dear gift given to her by Othello, Desdemona treasured the handkerchief. On the other hand, it was Othello's first gift to her and had great family significance, so Othello valued the handkerchief as well. However, Iago exploits such a simple object and makes Othello believe that Desdemona is unfaithful through planting it in another man's room. Because Desdemona left the handkerchief in Cassio's room, she lost her fidelity and purity in the eyes of Othello. And next is foreshadowing. So in Act 1, Scene 3, Brabantio says, "Look to her more, if thou hast eyes to see. She has deceived her father, and may thee." So this is a warning from Brabantio, which serves to indicate that Desdemona may stray away from being loyal to Othello because they now both know that she is capable of deceit. This plants doubt into Othello's mind, especially when he believes that she may have betrayed him. Since she is fine with lying to her father, it is unlikely that she will hesitate to deceive Othello. This foreshadows that Desdemona may tell a future lie, at least from the perspective of Othello, and opens up the possibility of her lack of fidelity. This makes Iago's plan much easier to carry out, and Othello is unknowingly prepared for the notion of Desdemona cheating on him with Cassio. So next is metaphor, and in Act 3, Scene 3, Iago says, "Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." So in this case, Iago compares jealousy to a green-eyed monster to characterize jealousy as frightening and disastrous. Although Iago warns Othello to beware of jealousy, Iago's motives stem from his envy for a high-ranking military position and his inability to obtain it. Jealousy is also described as consuming and devouring, as it feeds on others. This serves to inspire jealousy in Othello and causes him to react to Desdemona's infidelity, which advances Iago's ultimate plan. Shakespeare employed this metaphor to exemplify the effects of jealousy, which the audience can see in Iago through the use of irony, and open Othello up to harboring jealousy. So next is text-to-text and text-to-world. So the kite runner is similar to Othello because jealousy is a key component throughout the story. Similar to Othello's jealousy of Desdemona and Iago's jealousy of Othello, Emir was envious when his father showed love for his son because Emir greatly yearned for his father's love. The presence of jealousy in both of these demonstrates that jealousy is a universal power that often brings about the downfall of characters. As well, one attribute of both our society and the Shakespearean society is the presence of racism. The society of Othello blatantly displayed racist sentiments, evident in Iago referring to Othello as an old black ram. In our society today, racism is still evident, but a bit more subdued. This can be seen in the rise of white nationalist groups across the country, especially in the political realm. Next is the setting, and the first part of the play took place in Venice, which was a melting pot that was comprised of mostly white Venetians, which contributed to the racism that was evident throughout the book. Venice was also civilized and orderly, and culturally rich because of the Italian Renaissance, but Venice was also known for its promiscuous women. The latter half of the play took place in Cyprus, which was a military outpost, and because of this, it was consistently at war and always on the defense. It was also perceived to be a bit more barbarous, and people had an inflated sense of honor. So overall, the play starts out in Venice, which affects the perception of Othello in society. Although he has a respectable military reputation, his moral identity invokes criticism from others and hinders true equality, especially when he marries Desdemona. As well, the large presence of prostitution in Venice contributes to Othello's willingness to believe that Desdemona was unfaithful. So next are my favorite quotations, and the first one was in Act 1, Scene 3, and Desdemona said, "I saw Othello's visage in his mind, and to his honor and his valiant parts did I my soul and fortunes consecrate." So Desdemona transcends the racism that pervades her society and is able to look past the color of Othello's skin, which is pretty groundbreaking in my opinion. She acknowledges his character and personality rather than his appearance, which is pretty modern, and I feel like it was beyond her time. So that was pretty great. And in Act 1, Scene 3, someone said that to mourn a mischief that is past and gone is the next way to draw new mischief on. So the Duke explained that it is futile to focus on a past grudge because nothing will improve and new grudges will arise. I think this is advice that everyone in the story should have heeded because it would have saved so much trouble and the story would have been way shorter and it would have just been great. So yeah. The next quote is Act 3, Scene 3, and someone said, "Trifles light as air are to jealous confirmations strong as proofs of Holy Writ." I think that was Iago, and basically jealousy is easily confirmed by something that has little substance because one is most likely looking for something to confirm their beliefs, so basically confirmation bias. And I like this because Iago predicts how effortless it will be to deceive Othello, and it's kind of foreshadowing as well. And finally, in Act 5, Scene 1, Iago says, "It makes us or mars us," and I love how this highlights everything that is at stake and marks the finality of Iago's actions. And it shows how they are willing to make it an immense risk for the sake of revenge and possible triumph. So I feel like their perspectives are kind of tainted by revenge and just the desire to get what they want and to cause harm to Othello, and they're not really thinking rationally. Next are a few unique discoveries. So the name Desdemona means ill-fated or unlucky, and I find that kind of ironic or well played because Desdemona was super unlucky and all of the odds were against her. Even whenever she was arguing for her, Othello never believed her, so I find that kind of funny. And Iago means supplanter in Spanish, and the meaning functions well with Iago's desire to overthrow and replace Othello. And the Spanish name for this character is interesting because Spain was England's worst enemy at the time, and Iago is by far the worst character in Othello. So I feel like it's a very fitting name for him. As well, the story of Othello was drawn from an Italian prose story written by Cinthio in the 16th century. And furthermore, Shakespeare was an English playwright, and typically the English taught the Italian to be wicked, murderous, and of loose morals, so you can definitely see Shakespeare's perspective through his characterization of the Italians. Finally is my analysis. So while Othello definitely isn't one of my favorite works because of the language used, I admire the complex storyline that Shakespeare constructed. The intricate web of lies and deception that Iago created is commendable, as well as the use of irony throughout the play. The plot seemed a bit tedious, as it was much of the same thing that was just repeated in a different manner. However, the ending is satisfying because the mess that Iago created is discovered and justice is sought, for the most part. The whole situation rouses the notion that there are multiple facets of reality, as each person has their own perspective of what occurs, and the sheer power that one person can have on the other's lives. Because of this, it is a bit disappointing that nearly all of the characters die, so this lesson isn't carried on and Iago gets what he wants in the end. Overall, though, this play was aggravating because the audience knew what was going on while the characters were obliviously playing into Iago's plan, but all in all, it was masterfully written and I can't complain.